This conference will now be recorded.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's February 20th, 2023 meeting of the Bladen County Commissioners. I'd like to ask Reverend Bladen Wilson, Bladen Town Presbyterian Church, about invitation, just a little background on Reverend Wilson. Him and his family moved a few months ago from Alabama. His wife, Michelle, was a registered nurse, and she is now working with us, Dr. Duncan, at the health department. So he's already added. Thank you so much. We really need good nurses at the health department. Thank you. And after the prayer, if Mr. Greg Martin leads us in our pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Merciful, almighty God, we give you thanks and praise for this day and this time where we can gather together. Where we can gather together as people called out from among us to be leaders, to serve your people, to serve all of the community of Bladen County, to see that all of the resources, natural, human, all of the resources God has blessed us with are cared for. Lord, be with these leaders as they discern your will, as they discern the guidance of this place, so that all that live here may live fruitfully and know that they have been created in your loving image. For it's in God's name we pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reverend Wilson, I got a little something I'd like to hand you, if you don't mind, sir. Bladen County. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please report on consent items.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Peterson, second by Mr. Briggs. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Individuals or delegations wish to address commissioners have Mr. Donald Overton. Mr. Overton, you'd like to approach, please, the God's Foreign College Foundation. You have the floor, sir. You'd like to approach.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Am I sitting or standing?
Whatever you want to do, sir.
Standing, military man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Standing is what I use. I appreciate this little moment to come and speak to you on behalf of God's Foreign College Foundation. It's a small group that's been working for 5 or 6 years in Kelly, and nobody really, it's been working stealth, so to speak. That it's been helping people, it's been doing people that need. So now it's to the point of this is a new year. And this little organization now at the point is stepping out, canvass the neighborhood and listen to some folks. I'm always listening to some folks anyway, you know, they don't know it, but, I listen to them. But what I got and what our CEO, Deborah Overton, is to point out that she has assessed that at this point, that the area in Kelly and Bladen County needs to make a move. The people now to the point of, don't get me wrong, Bladen County is a wonderful place to the point that God has created. Rural, if you know how to use it, trees, animals, whatever, it's there. But then there's needs that people do need. And that's where somebody has to speak up. So at that point here, I stand to bring before you an idea, a proposal from from God's Foreign College Foundation, which is in Bladen County, Kelly. It's founded as a charity, education, religious, and all of the nonprofit 501c3. So at this point, our mission is to provide substantial educational scholarships, health, culture, social programs for senior and children. Basically, this organization is focusing on seniors and children. Now, we all know that, life is good, but it's to a point there's some of us that need some things. And some of us need things a little bit more than others. And we found out that children and seniors are needing a little bit more. So this organization decided it wants to step up. Right now, the idea is a multi-purpose center in Kelly for the community. Okay, and it has wonderful, wonderful settings for this building to be put there. And you may ask, well, what do that building do? And I'm standing here to tell you what that building does. That building provides educational, recreational, culture, health, and lifelong learning opportunities for seniors and children. Now, seniors to point out that there's a lot of things that the seniors do need. And we have a little taste of it, but it's to point it's time to expand it, okay? Our seniors to point out that they need the daytime, let's just say a daytime where they can go to this building and do just about all the needs that they need. Oh, just, what if we had a building that would save a little gas for somebody bringing food there, but why not prepare it in the building? Why not with the children after school where they can be brought to this building and tutoring and taken care of, all of their knowledge can be clustered into one place and just learn as much as they can. But this is what we want to do. Okay? Our objectives overall is to provide regular weekly recreation and culture activities for all youth. I don't care who he is and where he is. Some kind of way we need to get him there. That's not even a problem to do that. We provide that to get them there. Okay? And comes up, getting all the youth from grade school, middle school, high school, because the high school to a point of, right now, if we look at our high school to a point of, and we know for a fact because we give scholarships. These high school is to a point of that, all of us sitting here right here, I can tell you right now, we know how to put a composition together. I'm getting ready to bring you something that's reality. These high school kids can't even put a few words together to make it in a composition. English is a problem. But it's to the point where do they go to get this done? This building here, to the point of that, if we could get them into the building, I myself, and I specialize in English. We have a whole, Kelly, I can point you to 5 people that have a doctorate or anything else in English. That's no problem, but we need to get them in one place to get that done. Okay? So at that point, we need to make it English, and let's not forget Spanish. Now, this is to the point of growing people that are in this Bladen County that need some help also. And this is to the point of that we're trying to get for one place to do that. So at that point, wrapping up, we want to also have a long-term food, clothing, multi-purpose center will provide a food pantry for Kelly. It's to a point I can tell you there are those that need this food pantry. We may not know it, but there's those in Kelly or, let's just say Bladen County, that they are short on their meals. But it's to the point now that the food pantry is working weekly or bi-weekly, starting off bi-weekly and working into weekly and providing household items. But I guess what I'm saying, and to wrap this up, as I stand here, the only thing that I'm proposing at this point is if somebody, or even, even I, or whatever, we're going further with it anyway, to look at it to the point of that how important this building is to make it so that the citizens of Bladen County can have some kind of place that they can go and have all of their needs. I mean, it's going to take a little bit more time to get all the needs done, but we need to start somewhere. So right now, I'm saying, what I'm bringing is the start of a building that, and not only that, I got a partial idea on, we're getting ready to draw up what the building looks like. It's going to be even the landscape, it's going to represent the rural area, so it doesn't stand out, but it sits there and, we got tourists and everybody come back and they're thinking, in the small rural that they're doing something. Bladen is moving. My hat's off to Bladen. We're moving, get things done. But it's just that we have to keep an eye on where we're going and what we need to do. We know where we've been, and now we just need to check out where we're going. I thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Can I ask him a question?
Absolutely. Mr. Avery, Dr. Mungo will
I
have
have
a
a
question.
question. Do you have the land where you plan to put that building, or do you have a old building you plan to?
Okay. We have an idea. Like I say, it's the point of the, we can't nail down the person. It's going to take time, but they're kind of frisky at this time because land is like we say in the old, land is king. But 11 and Nate Moore, right on that corner, they're doing wonderful work out there. And I imagine you know how so that is. But right there's farmland. That's that point. They're not going to farm there anymore. That's the thing we have now. And most of the farmers, and the young children also have, but they're not, But yeah, Nate Moore and 11, right in on that corner.
Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, thank you.
Any other individuals, delegation, wish to address matters of interest to commissioners?
Mr. I got a couple.
Yes, sir.
Had the health board meeting the other night. Tommy Thompson sits on the substance use on TRIM's Consumer and Family Advisory Committee. And he was sharing that there's 3 more intelligent IDD, kids with IDD, traumatic brain injury, and mental health. Those are 3 slots that we can fill, and you fill it with individuals that have lived that experience, or parents or guardians, people with those disabilities. And I just, for information on it, I'll get it to Mr. Martin, and he can follow up a little more and put it on the agenda sometime. But those are 3 areas they're looking for people that has experience in those areas.
Yes, thank you.
And so the other thing was, these mental health providers in the schools and stuff. Most of them, if your child sees a provider in the schools, there's a copay. This is what I understand now. I hope I'm not wrong. And there's a push in Raleigh to get these people on the state payroll so that there won't be a copay, and it'll serve all kids. But some parents might not be able to pay the copay, is what I understand. So I was going to ask the board if we could send letters to all our representations endorsing that.
I got a problem, everybody take that.
I got one thing that I like to commissioner, is something that it came
Mr. Bullock brought the question up about the signage out on the bypass. I live out there and cross that thing all the time. And I don't know how soon DOT is gonna get there. But day before yesterday, here's a car coming down that thing on the wrong side of the road, running 80 miles an hour. On the wrong side of the bypass. I've seen that on numerous occasions. We need to tell him, before somebody gets killed out there, that he needs to come and address that issue as soon as possible. There's some issues out there.
Mr. Chairman, I talked with Mr. Clark last week. He had obligations until March 20th meeting. He'll plan to be here to discuss that matter, and I was going to let you know if you have other matters that you'd like for him to be prepared to address, if you would please let me know, and I'll address them.
Yeah, and I'd like to make sure that water is laying on the highway. That's the main thing. It's gonna be 5 highways too, but the rural ones. The really rural.
Anything else?
On this, what Mr. Peterson asked. I know a lot of our students are Medicaid and have different services and on those co-pays, but I understand the fact that they don't want to pay that copay. So I agree with that. I want to know if this other document, I'm not up on it. So where do you get the information from?
I got it in the grapevine.
Oh, grapevine? Oh,
I think when Cecilia comes, she'll probably be able to address that to a
who was
T.
that?
I think when Ms. Pierce comes, that she might be able to address that clearly as far as the copay type stuff.
Yeah, I like,
I don't know that Medicaid would have a copay.
they didn't,
That doesn't
they
sound
don't,
right.
but I'm saying.
They don't, right.
Very few kids.
Okay, yeah.
What day is that, Seth?
Next week.
Yeah.
March 6th.
Okay, then they would make sure. it's-
When Medicaid expansion take care of any problem like,
Don't know.
they're talking about doing that in North Carolina, I think, Medicaid expansion.
Well,
I know, that they are.
Yeah.
I was on that committee last year, but the legislature didn't support it,
They didn't act on it, I don't think.
but they did not.
They got it up.
Yes.
All right, anything else? All right, this time we have, Sheriff McVicker. Ms. Maria has a resolution that she's gonna read to us supporting the reclassification of Bladen County 911 telecommunicators, and then we'll take action.
This is a resolution supporting the reclassification of Bladen County 911 telecommunicators. Whereas in September of 2021, U.S. Representatives Norma J. Torres and Brian Fitzpatrick announced that their 911 SAVES Act passed the House as part of the fiscal year 2022 National Defense Authorization Act. The 911 SAVES Act is a bipartisan legislation to reclassify 911 telecommunicators from office and administrative support to protective service occupations in the Office of Management and Budget's Standard Occupational Classification Catalog. And whereas the 911 telecommunicator performs a critical role in public safety, homeland security, and emergency response alongside law enforcement officers, firefighters, rescue technicians, and emergency medical services personnel. And whereas the 911 telecommunicator requires specialized training and skills to gather vital information and make split-second decisions to form the foundation of an effective emergency response, prevent worsening of a situation, provide situational awareness to responders and citizens, and provide life-saving instruction. And whereas the 911 telecommunicator is the initial first responder in saving lives, reducing property damage, and ensuring the safety of our citizens and emergency personnel without prejudice. And whereas the 911 telecommunicator works in a uniquely stressful environment, communicating with citizens in great distress, harm, fear, illness, or injury. And whereas the 911 telecommunicator delivers selfless, compassionate care to all who seek their assistance during good times and bad. And whereas the Bladen County Board of Commissioners is in support of such a legislative change. Now therefore be it resolved that the Bladen County Board of Commissioners is in support of bipartisan legislation to reclassify 911 telecommunicators from office and administrative support to protected service occupations in the Office of Management and Budget Standard Occupational Classification Catalog.
Thank you so much, Ben. Sheriff, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm here tonight just to add, as you consider supporting this, I think Scotland County supports it, Ross County supports it, and they're asked for anybody that's in charge of 911 to support this bill when it passes.
Are they changing the name of the communicators, their position?
Well, probably not, but they'll just be known as first responders instead of office clerical.
Okay.
Have a motion by Mr. Briggs, second by Dr. Ellis. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next up, we have Ms. Vicky Smith, our Director of Social Services. Howdy, ma'am.
Hi. Thank y'all for having me this evening to review the Community Child Protection Team End of the Year Report. This is a multidisciplinary team that meets bi-monthly with mandated members to discuss cases in our children's welfare area that we're stuck on, that multiple agencies may be involved with, where we want to come together to determine better outcomes for those children. So this last year, we had a total of 14 cases that we did bring to the team. 8 were abuse cases, which is your sexual abuse or your physical abuse, and then we had 6 neglect cases, which mostly were substance abuse cases that we were assessing. Things that caused children to be unsafe in our county this past year was parent substance misuse and mental health needs in the home. One of the things that we felt helped to address deficiencies and gaps of services in our cases this past year was when the county joined Trillium Health Resources, which has increased a better working relationship between us and our mental health providers, assisting families with their mental health needs. Not to get off base, but I wanted to just tell you within the last month, Trillium has provided children's welfare with 50 gun locks. When we go out to homes, we have to, assess their homes, and we have to ask, do you have any guns on site? We have to see those guns, and a lot of times those guns are not secured. So these gun locks helps us to assure that we've got homes that do not have those unsecured items in them. It's concerning. Just last week, I saw one worker going out to one home. In fact, I stopped him. I said, "Ooh, you've got quite a few of those gun locks there." And he said, one home had 5 guns that needed to be secured. So I'm glad that we do have that partnership with them. I think y'all made a good decision when we brought Trillium on board. We always get calls. We can always talk to someone. And that was one of the outcomes that we are proud of. We did meet bi-monthly, 3 p.m. We had 5 meetings. We did not meet in December just because of the caseloads that we had and the staff shortages that we had. We will meet again tomorrow to begin this year. Things that we would like the state to address is the reduction in mandated caseload sizes. Our work is getting to be tremendous. As I recently mentioned, we're having to view those homes in a more stringent manner. Any building that is on that lot, we have to view those to make sure that there are no mechanisms to torture children there. We're having to spend more time with families now, and the depth of our cases. Like I said, the physical abuse and substance abuse is my 22 years with the agency. When I first came, it was mostly dirty houses that we would go into, and now it's the sex abuse and physical abuse and the substance abuse. So funding for additional staff in the counties and a reduction in the requirement of our congregate care and the county level costs. They have put more burden of those costs of congregate care onto the county, and we would like to see the state reverse that for us. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Collier.
I got one that may be a little bit different. With the new legislation that's looking at Medicaid, I was with county commissioners, and they was talking about the massive workforce or workload that was getting ready to occur because of COVID, reclassification, and Medicaid people. Some of the guys say in the larger cities, they are vastly understaffed, getting ready to take on this ordeal. It's getting ready to happen. There's no way around it. It's going to happen. And when I heard some of the smaller counties saying they couldn't even get people to work and that they had a massive shortage, have you and Mr. Dunn start making preparation? Because they said this is going to be a reality.
Yes,
That
sir.
It's going to be a massive shortage.
Yes, sir. Actually, I'm scheduled to talk with the commissioners tomorrow about Medicaid expansion and how it's going to affect Bladen County and what I'm seeing.
The only reason I was bringing up, I know it's coming at budget time.
Yes.
And the way these guys are talking about it, it's going to be massive amount of money, and they want the state to give money, and they were saying that social service departments need to now start looking at what manpower
Correct.
they are going to need to see if they can get an offset with the state and through the federal program. And I was looking, talking about, I know one time we had all these other guys who was leaving that you couldn't keep on staff. And now you're talking about safety, now you're talking about Medicaid.
Right.
If all these issues going to play into where you can keep doing the same thing, that's what I'm asking.
The state is still putting it out that we have to do, so, yes. But we will talk about this tomorrow, in our meeting. What we are looking at, back in the fall, the Directors Association, our advocacy committee asked us or sent us a cost template to plug in to see what we're looking at for Bladen County.
I didn't know you were getting ready to talk about it. I see you here. I didn't know you was coming tomorrow talking about it.
We will talk tomorrow.
Well, with the number of cases of child abuse, do you have enough staff? Because, I think it was early this year, a couple weeks ago, child was not taken out of the home, right here in North Carolina. She, 8-year-old died. So, you have that additional staff to take care of that? I know we have along of several agencies, I understand that.
Right.
But
we do have a shortage in children's welfare. We are relying on Vanguard, who is a temp service. If we were fully staffed with permanent employees, our caseload would be, it's mandated 10 cases per staff. If we were where we needed to be staff-wise, we would be okay right now. So we did get 2 extra positions last year, which helped.
You talked about a lot. How many did you guys sign up for?
I could not tell you how many we have handed out. They did give us 50 and told us that if we ran out, we could get more. We have not run out. But they did this for all of their catchment area. So.
Thank you, ma'am. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Okay. I'm with your listening ears.
Yes, ma'am. Next, we have Ms. Lisa Coleman, our finance director.
And to each of you. I have a scratchy throat, so I'll try to get through this. I would like to review the dashboard with you through the month ending of January. At the end of January, we had received revenues in the general fund of 66.83% of the budget and spent 52.26%. Solid waste account, we have collected 54.06% and spent 46%. Emergency telephone, we collected 28% and spent 15%. The water fund, we collected 65% and spent 38%. And right now in the emergency and in the opera funds, we have $754,000, but I think we're going to do a little bit of changing on that tonight, hopefully. Any questions on that? And then the federal inmate program, right now we have an average of 73, but as of today's report this morning, I found that we have 80 federal inmates in the house. So, thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Nathan Dallas, our director of emergency services.
Good evening. I hope all of you are doing well. I wish I was coming to you tonight with better circumstances, but just wanted to make y'all aware of the direction of the state. Y'all are aware that Tobermory and Hammond Fire Department in February of last year were put on non-compliance. Both departments did submit corrective action reports to get back on track. Unfortunately, they did not meet the requirements of their corrective action plans. You know, as dealing with the prior situation we had, that after non-compliance, you go on probation for 6 months. At the end of that 6 months, the state comes back and does a full-blown 9S inspection. And I am sad to say that Hammond and Tobermory both failed that inspection. With that being said, the state has put a little pressure on myself and Kenneth to come up with a plan moving forward, obviously with y'all's direction. Pretty much got two options. They will be a Class 10. We do not act, or we can merge with an existing fire department as rated. I think with the Tobermory issue is going to be a little easier to resolve than Hammond. Don't have any concrete plans in place now. Definitely need direction from y'all. I think me and Greg talked this week, and we're going to try to set up some meetings with those guys and maybe some ideas. Wanted to see if we could get a few of y'all to be on a committee with those meetings on how we're going to move forward with this. No slide on those departments or the leadership there. It's just a volunteer thing and some other things that came down the pipe that they couldn't get together. So I don't know what to say other than, but we got some options. It is going to benefit. The two options laid out now is they can operate as a Class 10. As y'all are well aware that our contract states you must maintain a 9S. If we were to allow them to continue operation, which by no means am I recommending that, to operate as a Class 10, there would be ramifications for homeowners insurance for the citizens in that district. And also any firefighter will lose any kind of benefits, which means if they were to get hurt, injured, or killed in a fire, they will not be eligible for any compensation. So my recommendation is merging. How that looks, who they merge with, how district boards are done, and board of directors and bylaws and all. I do not know all those details at that point. That is why we want to start a committee for that. And there's a lot of general statutes and things we got to dig into. But the state has been very cooperative with us. And matter of fact, he sent us documents and requirements and things we would have to do if we do decide to merge this coming up week. Catches to merging. If you merge with a rated fire department now, let's just say Tobermory merged with Tar Heel. You have to be 10 miles between stations to merge. We have checked the mileage on Tobermory and Tar Heel. They are within the 10-mile limit, and it's a different story. So there are some options there. Fortunately, they're not cheap or easy. So we'll dig into it a little more. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them to the best I can.
Is most of the problem manpower?
That's the main issue. That's not the only issue at the departments. I mean, there are some truck maintenance records and training records and things like that that are deficient. So Kenneth was on site last Thursday there was 3 representatives from OSFM here. Kenneth was on site at both places. I have spoken to both chiefs of fire department prior to walking into this meeting. So they are well aware because obviously this is the first time. We just got notification of this Thursday afternoon. So they have given us till March 15th, the state, to decide what we're going to do. That direction would come in the form of a letter from you, on what our plan is. I spoke to Lee Kennedy, which is our, rating inspector for this area this afternoon, and Kenneth has too several times. Once we give them the plan of what we're gonna do, then that's when we have to start getting our file articles of merger with the Secretary of State. We have to get with our attorney about transferring assets, a lot of that good stuff. So that's where we're at right now.
On the liability went down with the service on those guys, that is that the 9.5, 9S, we go into the who has the liability right now for homeowners has a fire, or who's covering stuff now if they're not able to respond?
So right now, they're still rated as a 9S department.
They can still
Yeah, they're
respond.
still running calls. As a matter of fact, told them we had a brush fire today and they responded. They're still operating right now. The 10 has not taken effect. And as a courtesy up to us, to the state, we were notified after the inspection prior to official documentation for us to come up with a plan for that.
So March the 15th is drop dead date?
March the 15th is the date where we had.
Okay, let me rephrase it. When does the 10 and they're not liability covered no more? What's that date?
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna write a letter that says we're gonna merge or let them operate by March 15th. Once March 15th comes, they'll probably give us 6 months to get legal stuff done, deeds.
If we let them operate as a 10, within 3 to 4 months, they would go to a class 10.
So what I'm trying to find out is there a 6 months grace period that they can still fight fire and be a 9?
Yes. There's not a set grace period, but we were told today that there would be.
That's what.
But we need to let them know by
Yeah,
March
yeah.
15th. They're not gonna let it drag out for a year or anything like that. They'll give us time to go through the proper legal channels and all that stuff.
That's what I was trying to find out.
Yeah, because there's a lot of, there's articles of merger for Secretary of State, dissolving tax ID number. There's a lot of stuff. And since the county holds the contractual power, since we fund essentially these fire departments with fire district tax money, is why that letter needs to come.
So the homeowners will still be protected with the same rate right now with the 9S. It wouldn't change to a 10 until you get ready.
Even if, and I'll do it the opposite way. If they come in and rate another fire department and they drop from a 6 to a 4, it takes 90 to 120 days for that new rating to take effect on the good side of things. So there's time in there. They'll start pushing us kind of like they did when we had the issues with East Arcadia, on, hey, you need to give us something and all that. We'll get it submitted.
I just like to be part of the solution, so if I can help, if you need some volunteers, I volunteer.
Okay.
Now, I go to a lot of fire meetings. I was there. I was gonna bring up something tonight about they're struggling for help. And, they're supposed to be preparing the list to present to commissioners like county employees to see if we'll let them off, during work hours if they're on a fire, can they respond? And also looking at, state forest workers too.
And tomorrow at our meeting too, obviously, y'all know I'll be there, but we are going to address some future plans that we would like y'all's help with on. This is not a new thing. It's going to keep happening. So.
Nathan, I've watched, and we've discussed this before at the college a couple of years ago and all, and Charles Ray made a comment that he knew a man that called his son four-week, put down some of the social media, the games and this, that, and the other. He hadn't cranked the four-wheeler. But I think we as a group, and we can discuss this in the meetings that we're going to be having, we've got to come up with some kind of enthusiastic something between the commissioners and citizens to pump them up, show excitement, be behind them. We got to do something. Years ago, there was all kind of fundraisers, radiothons and all kind of things happening. And that stuff has died by the wayside. But I think it's gonna take enthusiasm, because we live in a time now, and you see it in everything, civic clubs and all. You're competing with Facebook, social media and everything, and people giving up the time. And I know y'all hear me talk about it all the time, but it's a fact. It's just, some of these people just not gonna give it up. But I think if we work it right, they'll see the need, and hopefully at a young age get involved. And we got to come up with some strategy here to get some help.
And hopefully tomorrow we can kind of shed some light on what we've talked about moving forward, and y'all see fit, you know.
The last question that I know we talk about finances and what's economically sound too. And I know you and Kenneth working and y'all doing what you can do to try and put things together. But we went through this 7-8 years ago with EMS having the same type of conversation. Is it time for us to start transitioning into different level of service? That's what I'm asking.
It's coming faster than we want it to, and tomorrow I'm on the agenda, just like Ms. Smith just said, to talk about what we plan to do moving forward. But
I was asking, do y'all feel we get That's what I'm saying.
And tomorrow we'll address that. EMS is a part of it also. So, you know, look, volunteers are hard to come by, and in this profession, it's hard to even pay people to do it now. It's just.
Mr. Bullock, the only thing I have to say is that I should attend the EMS advisory meetings, and I told them years ago, we need to plan for when there's no fire department, volunteer. But it looked to me, we need to come up with a county fire department and look at the salaries. We got a fund balance. We need an actual county fire department look like. And we have county employees working there. Our main goal is to protect our citizens. That's what we need to look at. Not trying to do it this way. Go ahead and get out there and start a county fire department. That's my suggestion.
And tomorrow we'll talk about something similar to that, but you know, it's getting time, but there's a lot of back end stuff to doing that, funding it, locations, personnel, sustaining it. There's a lot that goes into it. And I ain't gonna lie to you, that's above my capacity. But
It's just like years ago, there was 5 volunteer EMS, 5 of them. Now we're down to 1. So we need to really take a serious look at this and come up with a county fire department.
And we're definitely gonna talk about that tomorrow.
Talk about that tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Dallas.
Thank you.
All right, advisory board appointments, we have Animal Control Board.
Kelly Barefoot.
What was that name again?
Kelly Barefoot.
Kelly Barefoot. Motion by Mr. Peterson, second by Mr. Britt. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we have the Parks Advisory Board.
Michael McKinley.
Second. Have Michael McKinley.
Yeah,
Have a second by Dr. Mungold.
He's in a trucking company. Would be an excellent access to Bart. He knows, they understand the rules of North Carolina.
Mr. Harris, just a comment, we probably need to revisit this whole BART committee, because they don't even have enough people attending the meetings they have meetings.
That's right. I was at the last
I
meeting.
was also on there the last time, my understanding. So, when you get through that, I want to replace Alan Sinclair, because he's no longer, he's with his children.
Let's go ahead and take care of
That's
this.
cool, that's what I'm saying.
Mr. McKinley.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Mr. Peterson.
I nominate Nathan Dallas to replace Alan Sinclair.
Nathan Dallas, place Alan Singletary. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Gillespie.
What's that on? Is that on?
No, he's doing that on Bart's.
Oh, okay.
He's already replacing the guy that's not. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
He said, Mr. Peterson, you were saying we need to revisit the complete board.
They're not
Yes,
having
sir,
anybody
they don't
go.
have enough people to even have a meeting.
I think I was the only one there.
Mr. Austin's on from there the other day.
Okay, next we have keep Bladen beautiful.
Reappoint.
Reappointment. Mr. Peterson, second by Mr. Gillespie. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next we have the nursing home advisory committee.
Reappoint.
Next, reappointment, Mr. Peterson, have a second by Mr. Gillespie. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Recreation committee. Erica Sutton. I have a second. Second by Mr. Peterson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we are down to American Rescue Plan Act, enable funding request.
Mr. Chairman, I need to excuse myself from this vote.
Need to recuse yourself from this vote. All right, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one request to present you for your consideration this evening, and that is a request from the Elizabethtown Dixie Youth.
Motion to approve.
Second. Where's this, y'all know where the money's coming from?
Yeah.
Has that been determined?
Yeah.
The two county wise as a district.
Okay, so we had a motion by Mr. Caldwell, second by who's the second?
I did.
Mr. Bullock, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. That's all we have at this time.
I'll say the documents for Town District Arcata will come in. They had a meeting last week or 2 weeks ago. They have all the documents, engineers, everything is in place, and the official documents will come in first before they can present.
Mr. Chairman, while we're talking about ARPA, I'd like to ask Mr. Martin to research ARPA funds, or the ruling rather, and see can a private historical building get funds? Private historical building. I met some people over the weekend, and they was asking me about that. So I didn't have no idea. A private historical building.
Just to remind you all, we have allocated our ARPA funds for, we've done for salaries, and then the money that was used to backfill the salaries, we have funded what we call ARPA enabled projects. So state law is really the main, but I'll certainly research state law.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Martin, what about D? Is there anything?
Yes, sir, we have, Lisa was on the web meeting recently, and they have indicated now as you know, this information and the regulations are always evolving. They have now determined that you can use, because we are under the $10 million limit, and use all of our funds for revenue recovery, including the broadband funds. At one time, we thought that the broadband needed to be kept separate, used for that purpose, but now we can use that for funding salaries as well, which, as you know, later down the road is much easier in terms of audit purposes. And then we'll just use those funds to fund broadband. So it's a net zero in terms of the effect on what we spend on it. But this resolution would basically authorize that.
What's the pleasure of the board?
How are you doing moving money?
Moving how we classify it, yes, we have.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Mr. Peterson, second by Mr. Britt. Any other discussion?
I got one thing. You said now you can move that, this can be moved over into the state funding part of it? Like
It can be moved, because we're under the 10 million, it can be considered as revenue recovery.
So how much are you talking about moving?
The approximately 750.
It's the whole 700?
Which is the only part that we had left excluded from the original file.
So you can move all that?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Martin?
Thank you. I'd like to review the calendar with you for the remainder of February and March. Just remind you that tomorrow at 12 noon, we have the board planning session at the airport. Also tomorrow evening, Board of Elections. Thursday, the Municipal and County Association meeting will be held at the White Lake Town Hall at 6 p.m. On Friday, the 24th, the community college is hosting an All-American Family Night. And they're going to have, if I understand correctly, choruses from schools in the county going to sing, and I think they may start at 6:30, and then at 7, the 82nd Airborne All-American Chorus sing. So, Very great. For those of you who have heard of them, they know great deal. Moving over to March, on Saturday the 4th, from 11 until 4, there's a fish fry at Blue Mill, proceeds benefit Peanut Festival. On Monday the 6th at 8 a.m., there's a prayer service here. The court is at 6:30. On Tuesday the 7th, 10 until 3, there's a blood drive at the EMS building, Industrial Park. On Saturday the 11th, Elizabethtown Founders Day, 250th anniversary of take place. If I'm not mistaken, that's the first of 4, so several over the course. On Monday the 13th at 5 p.m., the Health Services Advisory Committee meets. Tuesday the 14th, the Board of Elections meets. Board of Commissioners meets on Monday the 20th at 6:30. And on Thursday the 23rd, from 5:30 until 7, the Association of County Commissioners Districts 4 and 5 joint meeting. That's a place to be. Moving on to item B, just wanted to update you. We mentioned briefly last time, but this wave 2 of the opioid settlement is moving forward. We've received the information. I think you all received an email maybe from the association as well. Just to kind of put in perspective, that first wave was $750 million for the state, and this wave is $600 million, so it's about 80%. They plan to use the same allocation method as they did for the previous distribution. And we will have a resolution for your consideration at the next meeting. The County Attorney Leslie Johnson's already reviewed it. We'll be sending out a letter later this week. So all that's moving forward. Also, I want to let you know, in the last meeting, there was discussion that kind of came up during Mr. Grant Pate's presentation about the surplus park playground equipment. You will recall you declared that surplus in December. We did an advertisement in the paper trying to solicit folks who may be interested in acquiring that. We didn't have any response. Therefore, we have now been notified by Booster Borough that they have an interest in that and making it available for folks to play or whatever. So if you all are in agreement with that, we will advertise that in the newspaper next week, and then there's a resolution that you all need to approve at the next meeting. So that's moving forward.
Anyone else requested this when it goes out, or this, did you say it's going to the beach?
Well, Booster Borough, I don't know that it was really specified the other night, but Booster Borough is in fact the organization that Mr. Pate, when you all made the motion to approve it to a nonprofit organization, that was.
So, but I thought we left it under the honor that it was open to anyone who wanted to get into it. Now we left it that night.
I thought it was making it. I'm not. Maybe a misunderstanding. I thought you were all were saying.
I didn't know it had no specificity who would get.
That was the understanding I had, Mr. Martin, that we had advertised it and there hadn't been any response.
Nobody had responded to it.
And, but Booster Borough. And with what they're doing over there, and I make a motion that they're willing to take it and use it for the betterment of, and it's staying in our county. Bladen Borough is one of our towns. I would rather see it stay here and someone use it than somebody come in else and want it. That would be my motion.
You need to wait for a resolution. Well, I just want, as long as, but I just want you to know there is a process that we need to follow according to the general statute, and continue to move forward with that unless we hear otherwise.
Well, Master, if anyone else requested anything, are we specifically giving it to this one organization, or can someone else be requested to have it the same way? I didn't know it was closed in it. Because someone else has spoke to me about it. I'm trying to figure out.
It just kind of came up the other day in the meeting, the other night in the board meeting. So.
My understanding was when Grant said nobody has expressed interest in a sealed bid, but he had a nonprofit willing to take it, and it seemed unanimous that we were good. Hey, if there's a nonprofit, let them have it. But you know,
I didn't know it was a specific. They didn't give a specific name.
Nobody. I mean, you know,
they didn't name nobody.
He made it. That's what I thought. He made it to a nonprofit, because anyone.
I thought it was just to anybody.
I mean, I don't care if they have it. I'm just saying it was anyone.
Somebody else, I didn't know what they want. I didn't know how.
Can I ask a question? How come every time I speak, everybody talks over me? Y'all notice I don't ever do that. I sit here and I just wait my time, ask My question, anytime I start talking, and it's every meeting, everybody start talking over me. I just thought I'd mention that just as a matter of, I don't understand that.
You said everybody, I don't think I did.
I shouldn't say about, but it's just pretty much every meeting though.
Okay.
I just, every once in a while, I want to be able to get a thought out. Just a thought.
Your thought was fine. I was replied after you made your comment.
Continue on, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, moving on to item D.
When you said clarify, keep moving, Ms. Moore, you mean just, do we settle that you're gonna send to?
If y'all want to vote on it tonight, is that what we need to do?
No, I don't know, I just want.
I mean, that's what was discussed, nobody wanted it, nobody wanted it.
Right, it went through the public.
You know,
I care about it.
now all of a sudden, we got a private nonprofit that said they would take it, and now there's feedback.
15 people
And all of a sudden, everybody wants it.
I don't know nobody wants, I don't, but I'm just saying, if he, or do we vote on it, or if he move forward?
Move forward.
So you tell him to move forward.
And then we'll advertise it in the newspaper that you all are going to consider that as the resolution at the March 6th meeting. That would be the formal process.
Okay, all right, that's all I get clarification.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
There were zero
that was just said, right.
That was
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you. And then the last item, during our last meeting, there was discussion about the website, the County Springer Studios. Very good question was asked about the web hosting fee. I didn't have that information in front of me, and I couldn't recall the amount. We actually had that discussion in the presentation, others who were in it recall that as well, but it's $50 per month if Springer hosts the website. That will be on Amazon Web Services or the county. So we have options, and that's why it wasn't nailed down specifically. But I just want to let you know that that is a reasonable cost or whatever. And we'll Please follow up on that.
So, Mr. Barnes,
Yes, sir.
I looked through this briefly today, and it's talking about their approach, and they wanted to get the big picture of what we had in mind and stuff, and understand as much as possible about us and our project goals. Is there going to be a sit-down meeting with the commissioners, with these people, or?
There is. That's
Okay.
another,
Okay.
yeah, that's a very good question. And my thought is that may be another one that we want to have a committee, several board members who may have an interest in participating.
Okay.
But we want to capture as much of the county as we
Yeah, I do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's get county commission.
Okay. Individual delegation wish to address commissioners. All right, matters of interest to commissioners. Dr. Lingo.
I have one. I got a comment from several people about, Kelly not getting, support financially from the ARPA fund. And it wasn't just Kelly, it was probably, Carver's Creek as well, and Clarkson tried as well to get some additional money. But their hands were tied because they were inside of the, municipal. But when it came specifically for Kelly, I guess the words were, the comments were, Dr. Mungoen did not provide any funds to Kelly, but she gave it to East Arcadia. I want the record straight that I worked and worked with the USDA to get funds for East Arcadia because I knew of a project that they were working on and they needed. My first comment was that I asked funds for Kelly for $200,000 for the dike. The first comment, another county commissioner said, is that you can't cover it. You can't use those funds for the Kelly dike. But there were comments made afterwards, and then requests came in, but each time when it came to the senior citizen building of Kelly, commissioner said it didn't cover. Okay, could not use the fund to do that. I am one county commissioner. Kelly is my district, but Kelly is this whole board's responsibility. They may not be voted by them, but we represent Kelly just like East Arcadia, Elizabethtown, Bladenburg, the rest of them. Now, Carver Springs also asked for additional money. They too were not able to get their money, partly because there's no other money available, or the project that they request, according to Mr. Martin, the chair, and others, that is not covered, or you cannot use those funds for those different projects. So let it be said, if you're gonna talk about Dr. Montgomery, ask about funds or challenge funds for anyone else, do it straight. Be honest about it. Because I work for not just Kelly, I will support Bladenburg, Clarkson, and I asked money for Tomahawk area. I've called Kelly, Visual Citizens, Clarkson, Lisbon, Tomahawk, a lot of them I've called, including Bay Tree Lakes. I called them as well. So when you start talking about Dr. Montgomery, I don't do just these targets. I do it for them all.
Just two things of just, I guess, concern. One, we probably have very little jurisdiction over. One is, there seems to be a lot of homesteading going on in Bladen County right now. It's happened quickly in the last couple of years. I believe people buy land, they should be entitled to do on their land what they feel led to, but also know we have building codes, and I think there may be some that are getting building permits to build houses, maybe setting up a temporary dwelling, and then an extended period of time passes and they're still living in, whether it's an outbuilding or something like that. It concerns me with it, whether it's the lifestyle of the children in there, but also just, our property values, things like that. You've got some pretty nice areas where you're putting, temporary housing. I just don't think that's probably what we need as a county if it's not allowed. And just think, and again, certainly understand people are looking for inexpensive places to live, but we don't want, you wouldn't want somebody to go out and side you and put up a bunch of outbuildings and start living there and having a community. If it's not zoned for that and that sort of thing. So I just think we might need to reach out to our building, and the other thing is just, we talk a lot about live, work, play, and wanting our community to be a healthy community to live in. And as a parent of 4 children, one of the greatest things that's come to our county, and this is a school board thing, so I know it's not ours, but anything we can do to encourage them, is this idea of dual enrollment, that a child can be enrolled in high school and college through Bladen Community College. I had a son that's getting ready to graduate from Campbell after being there for less than 3 years because he was ahead when he went there. And I understand that's in detrimental, danger of going away. And my goodness, right now within our school system, that is by far one of the most shining lights that we have. We got a lot of problems that need to be fixed, but that's not something we need to do away with. So if there's anything we can do, I know we haven't had an update on the building at Tar Heel, and, we do need to, kind of like Dr. Montgomery says, we represent the people in the county who send their kids to our schools, so we do have a vested interest. We own the buildings, things like that. But I would hate to think that my daughter, who will be a junior next year, that would be taken away from her. That's the one thing that's like, hang in there, baby. I know you're not getting much of school right now, but hang in there. Next year, you'll at least be able to get some education. So anyhow, anything we can do to encourage that, I think amongst our constituents, that would be great.
Mr. Martin, the only question I have is, do you know where they're putting down fiber at this time in the county? I've had several people ask me.
Not right off the Abbotsburg, I know is the one that
I've asked questions, Home area or 87 between Tweeny and the county line in that area.
I will tell you, that's the NC great grant that was funded with Focus. That will be the total one. So that's still something.
Somebody said Focus, and I'd never heard of Focus, but they're on.
It's the old AT&T Atlantic Telephone. They've been here to make sure they the old Atlantic Telephone. We got it.
But Mr. Hester,
yes, sir.
if I may,
yes, sir.
648 Abbotsburg, they're putting the fiber down. They've got to be complete. That's got to be completed by the summer, because that's when the grant runs out. So I know about the 648 side. I don't know about the other side.
They're doing some big.
Oh, yeah, splicing and everything.
I know toward White Oak and Kelly, there's a lot of signs in people's yards.
I think White Oak is on 53. There's some areas.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin, I know we're gonna have the workshop tomorrow, and I've been looking at. I spoke with you about some of the art funding that we have in place. Will we be brought up to speed on how that money's been allocated? Will we discuss that? Would that be a topic of discussion at this coming workshop?
That's not a formal item on the agenda or a planned item on, so we can, with the next meeting, whatever,
The reason I'm being is, I'm looking at some monies that we have appropriated, but they have not been used at all. And when we gonna revisit those funds and look at what direction we gonna go with them? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
It's probably in this, information, if there's certain, if we can talk offline and I can understand better what you're,
Trying to figure out, like, if you got some funds that we had, like, for the housing project you were talking about, and it hasn't fulfilled to do anything at this point. Then we had the money with the facility in East Decatur, and it hasn't materialized. When are we gonna look at those funds and figure out what direction we're going with? That's what I'm asking. Look at what funds that have not been.
They just had their open meeting, they had the public hearing, they had other things that are already done, so.
Just asking when we're gonna take a look at all.
anytime. We can plan that for the next.
I just wonder, if with the rest of the board, I'm just trying to figure out when we're gonna look at funds and see what's left, what's to be done, and how to allocate funds. If we're not gonna utilize it, can we reshift them?
Yeah, I agree. That's like, are they pending or?
Yeah, we need to reshift and do something with it.
So Mr. Hester, Dr. Bimon wanted to kind of clear her name. When she throws out a commission, she talks about the Kelly Dock, she's talking about me. And I did make the comment, $200,000 won't put a dent in it. That was my comment. We're still looking for $20 million, and we got the military coming down in April. We haven't given up on the Kelly Dock, so that's really not like it's not a fair statement.
No, I think if you.
And the commissioners took the guidance of what Mr. Martin and Miss Lisa did on ARP money. Commissioners are not all fault for where the money didn't go or did go. I'm hush.
I made my comment, but I don't mind if you the one who said that was.
I did say it, so that's really nice.
No, I mean that, the other comments of what I did and did not give to Kelly. Okay, just give all the facts, not just take, one slip of it and say, okay, and then make it omission. Leave out part of the information, just share it all.
All right, have a motion to adjourn. So moved. Second. Everybody moved and everybody seconded on that.
I'm ready.
All in favor, say
Aye.
aye. All opposed? Thank you.